Angelica, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Yes.
I have been looking forward to it.
Yes, absolutely. I really just wanted you to come on my platform and share more about you and the things that you've gone through, which we'll definitely get into. Let's start off with an introduction in your own words. Who is Angelica Vazquez?
I would say Angelica Vazquez is a
Yes.
badass. And it's taken me a long time to get to this place where I can call myself that. Like, I even got a tattoo that says badass Angie.
Do
Like,
you? Where's
I
it?
do. It's in my arm right
I
here,
love
but
that.
I haven't, yes. And it was more of like, that's who I inspired to be. You know how Erica, she'll say like about our Shigo, our alter Shigo. So
Yeah.
that's who I aspire to be. And I had really low self-confidence since I was younger. And I just kept pushing myself. So I am a pusher. I don't know if you guys watch Mean Girls, but
Yes.
they're like, I'm a pusher. I'm definitely a pusher.
But she's not selling drugs, guys.
Yes. Okay. Those are rumors now.
Yeah, right? We got to clarify that.
Yes. I am definitely a pusher and I push people and I push myself because I believe that there's always a new level that we can get to.
Mhm.
And I am a wife. I am a fur mom to 3 puppies.
Yes.
I've manifested all my puppies, by the way.
I'm a dog person too, so I'm here for it.
Nice. And I am a life coach slash therapist.
Yes.
And I think overall, I'm just a helper. Like it's in my instincts to just want to help people. And
Mhm.
sometimes I've learned to not rescue people, but there's times where people don't even ask for my help. And I'm like, I want to help you. Like, I
Mhm.
just want to be of service.
Yeah, there's definitely a huge difference between helping people and being the rescuer. And I'm glad that you brought that up because that's something that we learned through the life coaching program that we're a part of, the sisterhood. And when it comes to me and relationships, before I started my whole healing journey, I found myself to be that rescuer, to find these broken people that needed to be fixed in my eyes. But the person who really needed to be fixed was me. And I was not prioritizing myself to fix the shit within me that was attracting these toxic people, right? So I think
Mhm.
a lot of people can definitely relate to that. And it's important to differentiate the difference. So thank you for bringing that up. I start off with every single guest talking about childhood and what life looked like for them growing up. What are some things that happened to you during that time period that shaped you into who you are today?
So I am Mexican American. So I think like that really shaped a lot of my views. I felt like I didn't know where I belonged. Thankfully, we got to go to Mexico a lot when we were kids and like growing up. So I feel like that kept me very humble. And I feel like very humbling to go out there and at the same time be able to have so much fun. And I feel like I would feel so alive every time we would go. And then like the culture, being able to like have that family love and hospitality. That's where I bring my hospitality from too, as well, from my culture. My parents are from Guerrero in Mexico. So it's like south of Mexico City. Just that area just has a lot of hospitality, really good food, and it feels like they're alive. Like I don't remember ever really seeing people watching TV. And if they did, it was just in the background. It's not like when you visit someone for a week and you're like, oh yeah, for the weekend, they're going to be entertained with you, but then later they're going to do whatever they're going to
Mhm.
normally do. There was that. And then in school, my parents mainly spoke Spanish. They spoke very little English. And I had to help my parents all the time with like paperwork and translating. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I don't know
You
what's,
had to kind of be like an adult before you were ready to be an adult.
yes, a little
Yeah.
bit too many times.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, you talk about childhood and people are like, I miss being a kid. And I'm like, I don't know what that was like.
Yeah.
During that time, I left my mom, but I was kind of her therapist. I was
Mm,
there for her. She's amazing. Like she has her own thing. And we've learned our parents also are humans who have their own trauma.
mhm,
And one of the things that did affect me that came down to me was that burden of feeling responsible for her, felt
mhm.
responsible with my younger sister anytime we would go out with my other little cousins. I just felt like I never got to just be carefree. And that caused so much anxiety. Like in my early 20s, when I finally got to be able to drink, oh my God, I was a fucking mess because I didn't know how to turn off my brain. I didn't know how to have fun. Looking back, I feel so bad for my 20s. version of
Right.
me, she was in pain. I do feel like a lot of it had to do from my childhood, not knowing how to have fun, how to not have to be the responsible one.
Yeah.
Like even in parties, I remember being like the
The
hostess, like,
mom, right.
oh
Like
my
taking
God,
care of everyone else. Yeah.
yes. I was also the good girl, la niña buena, because I had to be whoever they told me to be.
Yeah, that's why I always like having guests talk about that time period, because when you look back and reflect, especially when you're on your own journey to healing, it's like, yo, this situation happened that created this, and it just all comes around full circle. And I think it's really important for everyone to be able to reflect on the things that they've gone through. You know, on this podcast, we have tough conversations around very uncomfortable topics, and you are a survivor of sexual assault. And first and foremost, I just want to say I'm so sorry that that happened to you. But I would like for you to share your story in as much or as little detail as you want to go into about what you experienced during that time.
I was about 5 or 6 years old. I don't remember. I was molested. And then I forgot about it. And when I was like early 1920s, that's when like the memories were coming up. And I was
Mm.
like, is this a dream? I really did not want to believe it. This person had not been around us for a while. So it just felt like a really bad dream,
Was
but
there
it
something
wasn't
that
going away.
happened that like triggered your mind to think of the memories coming back? Like, did something happen or did it just come out of nowhere?
I feel like it just came out of nowhere. Sex always seemed like a dirty thing. And I'm
Yeah.
guessing because of that, but it was also like, as daughter of a Mexican mom, like, boys only want one thing and you're dirty if you touch yourself or you're dirty. I don't know. It's just dirty. It's a bad
Um,
thing.
but it's
I felt,
definitely something that's common in the older generations of communities of color. Like masturbation is like a sin. You know what I mean? Doing anything sexual, if it's not with your husband, it's like frowned upon. And that's definitely something that needs to not be. Sexuality and opening up to yourself, like that should be normalized. But unfortunately, especially in communities of color, that's definitely a taboo topic.
yes, even I remember like sitting down with my legs open as a kid. It's like,
Yep.
cierra las patas, like
Yep.
close your legs. Like,
Yep.
and you're like, well, I'm just sitting. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure my mom did it out of like protecting me. But as a kid, it's just like, well, what am I doing wrong? I'm just sitting. Probably because that's when like I was with my first boyfriend. So that's when I was first intimate. And I think that's probably why it started coming up, that it started feeling like yucky. And I'm like, what the fuck? And then one of
Yeah.
my friends shared with me that that happened to her
Um,
and that I should go to therapy. And then, like, once I felt comfortable to tell her, it felt liberating to be able to share that with someone because I had really close friends all through high school, but I never felt comfortable, or I don't think there was like a safe space for me to
um,
open up about it. Then I went to therapy and I was so glad that I went to therapy. And I started my whole like self-healing journey since I was like, I don't know, really, really young. I want to say like 20s, and I'm 33 now. So I felt like I kept dealing with it, but until 2020, I finally told my parents. So
um,
like I went to therapy 2014, and
um,
until 2020, I was like, I keep talking to people. I keep feeling more and more comfortable to talk about my story, but there's still something within me that doesn't feel right. And I was like, why not? And it's crazy because just 2 years ago is when I quit my job. Like literally yesterday was my last day, two
I
years
saw
ago.
your Instagram, like, congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's when I became an entrepreneur. But it
Mhm.
was crazy because I was at that job for 8 years. That was my last week there. That's when I had this like instinct that I had to tell my parents. It's a knowing, like there was just like no going back. Like, should I not? And like I told them the next day. But it's feel like there was something correlated with me quitting and deciding that I'm gonna move to the next level. That my body was like, fuck it, let's do this as well. Like
It's time to break free. Yeah. How was that conversation like? Like, you don't need to go into detail, keep things sacred between you and your family, but how did it feel having that conversation?
I felt like I could breathe.
Yeah. Were you scared
I
at all?
I prepared myself so much.
Mhm.
And it's funny because I feel like I was taking care of my parents. Obviously, parents, oh, at some point they're like, It was my fault. And I don't mean to, I'm sure there's parents that are listening and they feel that way. But to me, it's like, that's not what I needed.
Right.
I did not need someone to take blame for it. I needed someone to tell me that I was not a bad person, that I was not dirty, that it was not my fault. And I think I needed to hear that from my parents. Parents of anyone who they found out that their kids have been sexually molested or abused, I would give them that tip. Like, once you start saying it was my fault, then I felt like it was moved on from me to them. Then I had to be taking care of them.
Yeah.
In that moment, I can only imagine if I was younger, I wouldn't have known how to deal with it, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, they believed me. They were very supportive. They said if I wanted to do anything like charges against them or anything like that, that they were there for me. So that was very healing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that happened for me since I was sexually abused, I had a lot of guilt and shame. And that was only increased by the fact that my mom was very strict. And again, I love my mom. I feel like it's so crazy. Like, I still feel so bad for saying like anything she did because I'm not trying to put her down. It's just what happened. She was very strict. And there would be times where she'd be like, what happened? Tell me the truth. Like, are you lying to me? And like interrogating me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I already knew that this had happened, the sexual abuse. Like, I always had this feeling of like, fuck, she knows, or I'm a bad person. And even though she wasn't talking about that, she was talking about something else that she had a question about. And so there was a lot of shame and guilt with that. And then when I started drinking and blacking out and causing problems in my relationships, that just added more to the guilt and the shame. And I felt that once I told my parents, it helped my alcohol problem.
Yeah. Because you weren't trying to like mask the pain anymore by numbing out.
Yes. And so at that point, it was like alcohol was a habit more than a coping mechanism.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's definitely not easy to talk about, but on this podcast, we have these uncomfortable conversations because these are things that are happening, that have happened, that will continue to happen. And won't be normalized in healing from it unless we talk about it, right? Being that you're someone who has overcome that or is overcoming it because you're still on your healing journey, what would be some advice that you would tell someone who's gone through something similar, doesn't know what to do, doesn't feel like they have someone that they can turn to? What would be something that you would tell them in order to begin their own healing from what they experienced?
Definitely seek out for help. Once my friend told me to go to therapy and I was able to, it was very helpful. But at the same time, it's like, once you go to therapy, the magic doesn't start until you're actually honest about all the stuff that you're holding on to.
Yeah.
I would say find that space that will be safe and then just fucking rip the Band-Aid. Like, it's a lot, but the more you're trying to hold it in, the more it's like knocking at your door. All that pain wants to come out of you. And the thing is, it can be really shitty, but you can also transform that shitty situation to something beautiful. If I had not gone through my healing journey, I had not been able to be on this podcast and share that with you. I would not be able to share that with other people, with my clients or friends, that because I've shared my story, they're able to share theirs and then people can heal. The other thing with this is generational trauma. And I've heard this from psychologists, therapists, all of that. Like, more than likely, the person who abused you was abused as well. It does not make it right. But there's that point where as we heal, then we're able to cut the cord of like, it just keep passing down.
Yep, absolutely. I love that you said that. I talk about breaking generational trauma all the time on this podcast, and that doesn't happen unless we have these conversations, right? Same with me sharing my story of overcoming domestic violence. It wasn't until I started speaking my truth that other people started sharing their truths. And if I can help one person by sharing what I've been through, and if you can help one person by sharing what you've been through, that's how healing starts, just by speaking up. And yeah, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, it hurts. No one wants to have conversations around these type of things, but it happened. It's a part of our story, and we shouldn't feel shame and guilt in talking about it because, like we said before, this is our truth. This is our story, you know?
Yes, and I think especially if my mom would have found out when I was younger, like, yes, go after the person who abused
Mhm.
me. But I think at some point you have to focus on healing yourself.
Yeah.
I have gone through so much therapy, all the healing stuff, and I'm not done. I don't think I will ever be done.
You're never done. We're always healing, never healed.
Yes. And it was literally until this weekend that I felt like I wanted someone to rescue me. I wanted
Mm,
someone to tell me that I was not a bad person. And
mm,
I've heard people tell me it wasn't your fault. And
yeah.
it's like finally fucking clicked for me.
I saw that post and I read the caption. I was like, yes, I'm so glad I'm recording with her this week because when I saw that post, I was like, yo, that is just so beautiful, that self-realization that you had. And the fact that you're comfortable enough with your truth to put that out there for the world, it just inspires me so much. So I'm just so honored to have you on here. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. I
yeah.
appreciate it. It's crazy because you hear love yourself, all of this. And it's
Mhm.
like when you hear that sad song, but until you're heartbroken, then it like makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like that. Like I knew it wasn't my fault, but until this weekend, I was like, no, I'm a fucking badass bitch. Like,
Yes, the fuck you are. That's why the title of this episode, what I title it, How to Find Your Inner Badass. Okay.
yes.
So I'm so here for it. And we just need to continue having these conversations and continue sharing our truths and just inspiring other people to be vulnerable as well. So I want to know, why did you want to become this life abundance coach? Share how that journey came to be.
I was a good girl growing up.
Mhm.
And because I would hear my parents would be like, I would ask for something and they'd be like, no tenemos dinero.
Yeah.
I would hear that all the fucking time. In my mind, I was like, what if I got straight A's? Or like, what do I have to do to get what I
Mhm.
want? But I never spoke it. I was
Yeah.
always just thinking it.
Mhm.
And then because they said no a few times, I would stop asking.
Mhm.
So I feel like there was all this pent up energy of like wanting things and not being able to get it.
Mhm.
That as soon as I was able to make money, I was like, fuck that. I am going to get everything on my fucking bucket list
Yeah.
and more.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the complete opposite of what I dealt with growing up. Absolutely.
Yes. And so I basically started with my calendar, bucket list, and my budget. That's how the badass manifesting like me started. And I think I was like 16 years old where I was like, okay, I want to do all this. I have this much money. I'm looking at my calendar. When can I do it? And then I was just knocking things off my list. And then the thing is too, I'm a scary cat. Like I didn't learn how to swim. I didn't learn how to ride a bike, skate, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I got to a point where I just pushed myself to do all these things that I was so scared of. I still don't know how to ride a bike, but I
It's
started
okay.
to.
No judgment.
And then I looked around and I'm like, oh my God, so many people hold themselves back as well. The reasons are kind of silly
Mm,
when you look back at them. In the
yeah.
moment, I'm sure the reasons feel real to everyone.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, you need help pushing yourself. And
Mhm.
if you can't do it for yourself, that's where I'm like, heck yeah, I can definitely do that for you.
Yeah, I fucking love that. And I think it's important to have someone in your corner who's going to push you, because we can be the ones that tend to get in our own ways when it comes to life, career, family, relationship, whatever it is, right? So that's actually one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, being that you are a coach. Why do you think some women, especially, tend to shy away from living that badass life?
Because our roles as women have been told from the media, from our
Facts.
parents. Even me, like being the good girl, was like, oh, my mom would be like, tú no dices eso, you don't say that, you don't say bad
Mhm.
words. But my younger and my older sister were allowed to. But
Yeah,
because she made this like personality of me, I wasn't allowed to. So
right.
like there's so many women who, even though they now have kids and all of that, like, and I love Hispanic families, but sometimes they need to learn boundaries.
Yes, girl. Absolutely. I'm glad you said it.
I love them, and it's
Yes.
great, but
And
it's just like,
it comes from a place of love, right? Like, I don't want to paint this picture
mhm,
that they're overstepping just to be assholes. We know it comes from a place of love and caring, but
yes,
like, back up just a little bit. Like I'm a
Yes.
grown ass adult. I got this.
Exactly. So yes, as little girls, we're told to look for everyone else for permission. We don't
Yeah.
know how to make our own decisions. And then as soon as we turn 18 or whatever, around that age is when we start looking for someone else to love us. And because we're
Mm.
looking for that validation and for that love, we don't get a chance to really look inward and be like, what the fuck do I really want? Yes.
Absolutely. So, how can we work through those roadblocks? What would be some advice you would tell, say, one of your clients who has those roadblocks to work through and break them down? What would you say they need to do?
I would say start painting the picture that you want for your life. And like painting it can be really scary for people. Like even just putting a picture on a vision board, it's like, well, I don't know if I could really do that. And it's like allowing yourself to even dream it. Don't even do any steps. Allow yourself to dream that version of yourself. I think that that's the first step. And then from there, once you start pointing out, like, let's say when they tell you, like, look for everything that's yellow in the room, then you start finding everything that's yellow in the room. There's
Mhm.
a word for that. So basically, as you start allowing yourself to dream towards that version of yourself, then you'll start seeing things that will help you create that for yourself.
Yeah. Allowing yourself to dream bigger then what we think we can do is the first step. And I love that you said that. Like, allow yourself to just think outside the box and not stay in this conform little, oh, this little bubble. No, that's how you stay stagnant. That's not how you grow. You need to dream, but then you also need to take action. You can't just be like, I'm going to manifest my husband, my career, and all this, but I'm just going to stay stuck in my room and not fucking leave and go anywhere or do anything, right? You need to also do. I know you said that therapy was something that was really huge for you in your own personal development journey. What are some other tools or resources that you can share with my audience that helps with becoming their inner badass and evolving and growing?
I have done therapy, but I've recently started working with a new therapist. And one of the things that none of my other therapists checked was for any chemical imbalances. So I
Mm.
just got diagnosed with overfocus ADD.
Oh, wow.
So after going to therapy for so long, it did help. Everything I've done has helped,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it's that with a combination of everything else I'm doing that literally this week has been like, so I'm glad the timing worked out this way.
Mm.
And the therapist I work with is more holistic as opposed to just someone who's like, here's your questionnaire and then here's some pills. He doesn't do that. First of all, he did do the questions and then he asked me to do the questions with somebody else. So
Mhm.
I asked my husband and my sister to answer the questions about me. So they
Yeah.
were able to answer that. So then he was able to compare my answers, their answers, and then he did another thing called NET. I forgot what it stands for, but it's like muscle testing to see like if my body also in agreement with having that kind of ADD.
Mhm.
And he had me hold like different pills against my body. And then like he did like the muscle testing, like pushing to see like which one was more in agreement with my body. So that was pretty
Mhm.
cool. And
Wow.
that's like a big game changer for me. This has been like a month and a half that I've been working with him and I just feel way better. And I think that that would be one of them. Definitely podcasts like yours and
Yeah.
Erica's. Like hearing other people's stories, it's so amazing because sometimes we don't need facts. We need to feel heard or
Mhm.
seen. So
Yes.
when we feel heard or seen, then we can connect the dots between when it's happening and what can I do next. So there's that. I definitely love books, audibles, and The Alchemist is a great one for anybody who's wanting to follow their dreams. And I love seminars and retreats. The seminars and retreats can be like you can do what you would have done 7 years in therapy sometimes, but then when you come home, you need to continue that work.
Exactly. I'm glad you said that part.
Yes.
You got to do the
I
work, y'all.
Girl, I do it all. As soon as I wake up, there's like a video telling me like you're a badass, all these things. And then I've done all these retreats and seminars, but also therapy. And then I've done energy work. I've worked with different energy workers with hypnotherapy, Reiki, and just different type of modalities because a lot of times you can process a lot in your head, but then the energy within your body needs to like release some
Yep.
of that. Otherwise, it can get stuck.
Yeah.
And one good book for that one would be The Untethered Soul. This year was really, really tough. I had
Mm.
some personal difficulties that, fuck, they were hard, but I decided I was not gonna fall into depression. So going to hiking first thing in the morning has been my savior, like,
Yeah,
honestly.
I see your stories, and I know you live in Arizona, so you have like the mountains and the nature and all that. I'm like, damn, we don't have that in Jersey, not where I live at. It's just so beautiful for you to just be able to ground yourself and just to see. I think that's something that's so powerful, and I'm glad that you brought that up as one of your healing resources because I see you do that all the time. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course. I think the last one I would say is massage therapy because
Mhm.
I'm also a massage therapist and I do feel like it's just another way of releasing and like where else do you have like an hour and a half where you get to just feel safe and taken
Mhm.
care of?
Yeah. So this episode is titled How to Find Your Inner Badass. So what does being a badass mean to you and how can we truly find our inner badass?
I have this vision I had in one of the seminars. It was Wonder Woman and then the chakras on her. It's like you're very powerful and you're ready to go, but at the same time, you're aligned.
Mm,
You're feeling grounded as opposed to just like attack, when we're like, when we go crazy. Someone might have disrespect you in some sort of way. How can you tell them off without being a crazy bitch? Like
yeah.
in a way that it's like, no, thank you.
Like
But
keeping it classy, but still letting you know, stop fucking with me because I'm not the one.
yes. So there's like that balance. And then I feel like connect to your intuition because we're taught not to listen to our intuition in so many
Mhm.
systems, like being school and not being able to go to the restroom because you're supposed to ask somebody else for permission. Like that's literally teaching kids not to listen to their intuition, their
Yep.
body, and then being able to push yourself. Like you
Mhm.
have to learn how to push yourself. You're not going to feel like working out. You're not going to feel like talking, being vulnerable and sharing things like this. Like, no, no, thank you. But you can do it. And
Yeah.
it becomes so liberating.
Yes. Oh, I love that you said that. It is definitely so freeing to have these conversations. I always feel like I can take over the world after I record a podcast episode. So, yes, I'm here for all of that. We all can find our inner badass, but it's up to us to find that man or woman inside of us. Up until this point, what's the most important thing you have learned about yourself this year?
That I have my back. It goes back again that I was wanting someone to rescue me. I wanted to be the rescuer as well, but that's not the point. The point is like I wanted someone to make me feel better.
Yeah.
That extended to my relationship. I'm married right now. It extended to like, being in business and like wanting outside validation, being in rooms and still like not feeling good enough, even if people would tell me like, you're amazing, all that. It's like
Yeah.
not feeling it. Yeah. Like I have my back and I have the power to control my mind. The other thing is just like, it's all an inner game. Like stop looking for outside things to look better.
Mhm.
Like, how can you be at peace within yourself?
Yeah. I love that. What would you say is your superpower?
My superpower is seeing magic even in the darkest places.
Oh, I love that. I fucking love that.
It's funny because I heard Erica say this as well, like, "Oh, you're going through a divorce. Awesome. Like, this is gonna be a great time for you." Not necessarily in the moment, but like
Right.
think of all the growth that happens after some shitty situations. If you allow it,
Mhm.
of course. There's people who just don't move past it and
Right.
it's understandable. It's harder for some people than others. I get that. But there's also a magic within us. There's resilience that we are born with that
Yeah.
we get to find the magic in it.
I love that. One quote that I took away from Erica is that there's a message in the mess. And that stuck with me. And I'm like, there really is a purpose behind every single thing that happens to us, whether it's good or bad. It's not always just the shitty situations, but it's up to you to find it. And I think that comes with that growth mindset to be able to
Mhm.
see and to be able to pivot and to be able to read in between the lines to figure out, I'm going through this situation for a reason. Why? It's up to me to figure it out and up to you to grow from it. So 1000%, I love that. What does self care look like for you?
Girl, right now my self-care is pretty top notch.
Yes, I'm here for it.
Honestly.
Let's hear it.
I get a 90-minute massage every 3 weeks. I get energy work every 3 weeks. I'm hiking Monday through Friday. I'm going to therapy every week. I'm in the life coaching program with Erica. So that's a 12-month program. I have a call with my mentor. He's my law of attraction mentor every 2 weeks. I have my business coach who we see every 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Even though it's about business, we're also like, it's a lot of mental work. I feel like that's still part of the self-care. And then having really amazing friends who love me for who I am and also are in a place that they can give me loving advice. I think like in the past, people would be like, oh, fuck him, or, like things
Yeah.
like where it's like, no, it's like, how can you grow from this? That's kind of the different conversations that I'm having now with my friends. And I love that. Trying to see if I'm missing anything else.
I mean, girl, I think that's plenty. I mean, you're in your like your whole personal development bag. Like she's out here just killing it. I'm so here for it. And what I really love about everything that you have going for you is that there's a lot of community. There's a lot of outside help. And I feel like a lot of people try to navigate this world like, oh, I'm just a strong, independent, bad bitch. I don't need nobody. No, if you guys can see us, we are saying absolutely not. That's how you will eventually reach burnout. You'll fall, you'll quit before you even get started. The power of community and the power of having people that you aspire to be or who are helping you grow, that is fucking powerful in and of itself. You don't need to do it alone. You shouldn't have to feel like you need to do it alone.
I mean, that's where people get depressed. And from
That's,
depression, that's where the suicidal thoughts come up. And no, isolation is definitely not the answer.
yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely something that I've learned to not do because that used to be my go-to shutdown. I'm not talking to nobody. I'm locking myself in the room. And like you said, that leads to depression and anxiety and just a lot of shit that you don't want to deal with. So go out there and speak your truth and ask for help. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. And you will be well on your way to finding your inner badass.
And don't believe your thoughts.
Yes, that too. Because
the good
this
ones,
right
yes,
here,
but not the bad ones.
Exactly. Because your mind can be an asshole to you sometimes. So now I'm going to ask you the same questions that I ask every single guest as we wind down this conversation. What has been one of the hardest lessons you've learned as an adult?
How to let go of alcohol as a coping mechanism. I still drink, but I'm not where I used to be at. Like it was really hard for me to know my limits, to stop drinking. I looked very functional, obviously. Like I went to work, all of that stuff. It's just how could I stop depending on it?
Mm-hmm.
This has been the year where I've had the most grounding for myself, like felt the most grounded for myself. And so I think that that's why I feel so much better without it. Like I don't feel like I need that. And the thing is, for some people, it's not alcohol, it's binge watching TV, it's binge eating, it's
overworking.
There's just so many different things that you fall back on because you don't know how to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I think I finally got to a place where I'm like, I got this.
You got this. Yes.
I'm sure the other stuff will come up and it'll be another lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's life. Life is always going to life, right? But it's important to have the tools in place to be able to help you navigate through those challenges that will always come up because while you're living and breathing and being on this earth, some shit's going to go down, okay? But it's up to you to find the tools. So you are on the Watch Us Thrive podcast. So what is your definition of thriving?
The only thing I could think of is not letting shit hold you down. They can put you down, but it will not hold you down. You will get knocked down a lot of times in life, but it's up to you to be like, fuck this. I'm thriving. Like, regardless of what's happening in my life, choosing to thrive. It's also a part of a choice.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you said that. Everything starts and ends with us, and it's up to you to either be thriving or surviving. And a lot of people tend to be the latter, but you have the choice to not, right? So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. If you could go back to your childhood self, what's one piece of advice you would tell her?
To believe in herself. I'm thinking of like little me, and I feel like I just looked around for someone to validate me, to tell me I was doing okay. And I never knew how to do that for myself until now. So I would tell her, like, you're doing great and that it's okay to make mistakes.
I think you're doing fucking amazing now after having this conversation. So give your inner child the biggest hug because you are an amazing woman. What is an affirmation or a mantra that you practice daily and why?
I am surrounded by abundance. I am rich, happy, and healthy. Abundance is not just money and it's not just having the nice house and the cars. It's like, oh my God, I'm having a bad day and my friend called me. Having that shoulder to cry on. Like, yeah, sure. I went to go help my friend because she was moving back in from her pipes burst. So I went to go help her. And she's like, you need shampoo because she's a hairstylist. So, and it's funny because I just ran out of shampoo and conditioner, which is like such a small thing, but it's like, what are the odds that it's like that timing of like, here you go, here's some shampoo conditioner. Like,
funny how the universe works, right?
Yes. And it's like being rich doesn't mean you have $1 million in your bank account. I mean, that'll be nice and it will come. And at the same time, it's like you have your health, you have your family, you have your friends. I think that's very rich.
Absolutely, because there's a lot of people out here who have the monetization going, but they are broken souls on the inside. So don't believe that just because you got money means you're happy, because that ain't it. You are happy when you're truly know who the fuck you are and you are abundant within yourself. And then everything else is just a little bonus add-on.
Yes, for sure. I think Tony Robbins says the ultimate failure is success without fulfillment.
There you go. I mean, I think that's the perfect way to end this conversation. Angie, you've been such a ray of light, and I just love everything that you've said. So please let my audience know, how can we work with you? What are your social media handles? Plug everything in so we can get more of your amazing energy.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So my handle on Instagram is Living the Badass Life 11. And I am a massage therapist here in Phoenix, Arizona. So if anybody wants to come and make an appointment, that'd be great. I also have a hike and manifest every Friday that is free. So like any badass woman who want to come and join the group, that is amazing. We go hiking at 5 a.m. with a group of women, and it's cool because every time it's different and we're talking about our goals. We're talking about what we're proud of. We're talking about what we're grateful for. Like, how badass is it to wake up? And it's just funny because every time the women get to the trail, they're so tired. I didn't want to wake up. Literally 10 minutes in, everybody's energized. Like, we're laughing, we're having a great time. So there's that. And then I am a life coach as well. Like I said, I'm an abundance life coach. So you can work with me one-on-one. And I am launching my coaching program. It's the Badass Manifesting Club.
And we will leave all of your information in the episode show notes. Once again, Angie, thank you so much for coming on and sharing just a little bit of who you are. And I can't wait to see you continue to grow and just be this amazing being that you are.
Thank you.